So first and foremost, I just want to thank everyone for joining today. This is our summer edition of CanHug. CanHug, of course, standing for the Canadian Tableau Healthcare User Group. If you were not able to attend any of our prior meetings, we'd just like to introduce our group. So our aim is to bring together organizations from across the country to share experiences using Tableau. We all encounter very similar challenges in healthcare, and so this group can really serve as a platform for making connections, exchanging knowledge, and best practices. So again, if this is your first time attending, my name is Brittany Hamilton Health Sciences in Ontario, and I, along with Eric from Alberta Health Services, who will also be on this call today, help organize this group. And so if you do have any questions or if you're interested in joining us to help find topics and speakers, please let us know and we can include you as an organizer moving forward. And on that note, we are always inviting participation in future user group meetings. So if you have a topic that you'd like to present, you can fill out this form or reach out to us directly. Our goal is to try to feature organizations each quarter, highlighting how healthcare organizations across Canada are leveraging the tool. You can choose to provide an overview of your Tableau setup, Tableau strategy, rollout, tool governance. You can share successes, lessons learned, or talk about your current challenges. You may also choose to showcase content that you're developing in Tableau or you've published within Tableau, or focus on a specific topic, whatever works best for you. So I'll also just quickly add, before jumping into our agenda topics today, that this is just a reminder for everyone here that recordings from the Tableau conference in San Diego this past April are now available. So there's a link there. There are a number of videos from various sessions available for you to watch on demand. So definitely check it out. Okay, and so for the agenda today, we have 3 different speakers. The first speaker we have is an overview of the North York General Hospital's Tableau implementation, featuring a showcase of their new custom landing page with Sondra, who is a business intelligence specialist with North York General Hospital. Next, we have a demonstration of the Ontario Hospital Association's Hospital Patient-Based Funding, PBF Efficiency and Performance Dashboard with Yilin, who is a business intelligence specialist with the OHA. And then last but not least, we have an inside look at Tableau's evolution at Alberta Health Services and how they're preparing for the upcoming, the big reorg and refocus at AHS with Eric, who is the analytics application lead at AHS. And I think with that, I will flip it over to Sondra, who will take us away with the first presentation.
Thanks so much, Brittany. Let me just share my screen. Okay, so hi everyone. My name is Sondra Green, and I'm the Business Intelligence Specialist for Decision Support and BI at North York General Hospital. And I'm excited to share with you today our Tableau implementation journey so far, with our go live date as July 2nd. So on my agenda today, I'm just going to give a brief introduction of NYGH, our existing infrastructure, how we started this journey, what our new infrastructure is going to look like. We're implementing it by the summer, the milestones and next steps, why we chose Tableau, and I'm just going to demo a custom Tableau landing page that I've created. So who are we? NYGH is among the top-ranked global hospitals and the #1 community academic hospital in Canada for 7 years running. The hospital is affiliated with the University of Toronto that provides high-quality acute, ambulatory, and long-term care for approximately 500,000 people across 7 sites in Toronto. With one of the biggest emergency departments and birthing centers in the GTA, NYGH has also been named one of Canada's best employers by Forbes 2024 and one of Greater Toronto's top employers 2025. A new long-term care development and new patient care tower will be built in the coming years, which is super exciting. Creating over 500 long-term care beds after this facility is built. So just a brief overview of the decision support and BI team at NYGH. We have a small but mighty team. It consists of one data architect and two ETL and database developers, one business intelligence specialist, which is myself, and 5 analytics consultants who act as primary contacts with program areas to support the reporting and analytics needs. So overall, our team is very engaged with many teams across the hospital, supporting quality, finance, research, etc. So our original infrastructure, our team, maintains and hosts the following on-premise. So IBM Netezza is our enterprise data warehouse, and Cognos Analytics, which is our business intelligence reporting tool, and we rebranded it as NYGH Insights. So just a little bit more about our BI tool, NYGH Insights. We have 45 reports distributed via email, 57 reports and dashboards, 10 plus data sources available within the tool, and a ton of ad hoc requests per month, just on an ongoing basis. So we have this tool, but we're faced with many challenges with it. One of our biggest issues is around getting people to actually use the tool, not necessarily on the end user. They have their analytics consultants readily available to answer their questions. And Cognos Analytics hasn't been the easiest in terms of navigation and usability for our end users. So just talking about how we started this journey. So we started by creating a data analytics strategy. So, in order to move up the data analytics maturity scale, we need proper governance as well as, the capacity and capabilities within our existing tool, data architecture, and so on. From there, we had to migrate our data warehouse from an unsupported platform. So Netezza reached its end of life in April 2023. So we decided to move to Azure Synapse environment since it aligned with our strategy. And then from there, we did a BI tool assessment. We found the tool to have many limitations and just not comparable to leading BI tools in terms of customizable features, advanced analytics, web integration, online communities, and product releases. So our new infrastructure, is going to show Azure Synapse as our data warehouse and Tableau as our new BI reporting and analytics. And I just wanted to share a high-level overview of some milestones, up until our go-live date, and then, next steps. So we did an updated analytics strategy in January 2023. I touched upon that in our previous slides. April 2023, we had the Netezza end of life, and we made the decision to migrate to the cloud. In September 2023, we did a stakeholder engagement session, and the objective was just to better understand current data and analytics needs and how they're accessing this information. During that session, we brainstormed what features, functionality, data they would need to increase their use of the data and reports through through a portal. And, just some key themes that came out of that was ease of navigation, access and use, customizable user features, push notifications, mobile-friendly dashboards, seamless data integration, collaboration, and sharing dashboards internally and externally, and advanced analytics features. From there, in November 2023, I did a proof of concept with Tableau and Power BI. So we engaged with vendors to co-develop a proof of concept QBP dashboard in both Power BI and Tableau. And we did that just to evaluate the user experience, developer experience, and functionality of the tool. And it was also a good platform to gather more information about licensing structures and just functions that weren't feasible to include in the proof of concept. We also went back to our stakeholders at that point, and we demoed those dashboards, and we let them actually log into both Tableau and Power BI and, play around with the tool and see what they liked and disliked about it. And, I finished off this proof of concept journey by doing an evaluation of both tool and just doing like a huge comparison chart. And obviously we chose Tableau. That's why I'm here today presenting. So in January 2024, we started our data pipeline development at Azure Synapse. November 2024, we did our own Tableau security assessment. It's something that our IS department really pushed for. In January 2025, we implemented Tableau, just like on our current team. And in February 2025, that's where I started developing out that BI governance. And, I work closely with my manager, Kenny Wong, and my director, Kim Hill, on developing out, a user guide, style guide, a metadata catalog, a data intake form. And I also, did a program needs assessment and like a MYGH inventory cleanup during that little time. In April 2025, I actually started developing out some dashboards in Tableau and started conducting training with our analytics consultants. And then before our go live date in July, I just want to finish up creating a custom template and color palette that can be used across different users within the organization. Onboarding members of our organization, we have around 200 licenses that we're going to distribute. And then after our go live date of July 2nd, I want to focus on connecting our Python scripts in Tableau, setting up our mobile environment and web integration, configuring our AI agent, and doing a Teams and PowerPoint integration once available. So why we chose Tableau, from a product feature standpoint, it's really easy to use and intuitive. You can create customizable environments for specific users. It's just such a clean and simple interface, superior mapping functionality, great web page integration, both internally and externally. We also received positive feedback from our stakeholders during our proof of concept. There's great online resources and a community for Tableau, constant product releases, and just listening to other Canadian hospital Tableau implementation success stories. So, for example, my director, Kim Hill, came from Grand River, and she saw the Tableau implementation within the hospital and how much of a success it was. So that really drove our decision as well on why to choose Tableau. So at this time, I'm just going to demo our custom Tableau landing page. Just a few things to note before I share it, though. It is in its first iteration. But the initial work was done based on, what our end user requirements were during our stakeholder engagement. So I'm just going to flip over to that environment. Just give me a second. Okay, so it's not pretty looking, but I just wanted to show you, the proof of concept behind it. So a lot of people during our stakeholder engagement session said that, they didn't want the traditional folder structure when they log into the tool. They just want to log in and see what is going to be applicable to them. So I created this basic wireframe right now where it just has your program along the side and a support and contact page too. You can click on it based on your your security, you might not see like all these programs, but if you click on it, for example, I have a few dashboards in here. So I'll click on corporate priorities. I won't share the actual dashboard just because we have some indicators in there that we don't want it shared. But basically, when you select the dashboard name, it's going to go to our information page. And then from there, you can select down on the different tabs that we have. Also, I just didn't want to, like, I guess, duplicate any dashboards that were out there. So, for example, we have our hand hygiene report. You know, you can look at it at a corporate level or for a specific program. So I didn't want to almost like duplicate the paths. I just wanted one master file in the back end, and then based on where you're going in from. So say if I'm maternal newborn and I click hand hygiene through here, it's gonna open up the dashboard with already the program selected, like pre-selected for you. Like, so it's a specific view for yourself. And then at the top of the screen, you can click, you know, for example, favorites, and I'll just link you to your favorites tab within your Tableau environment and whatnot. But this is a work in progress. I'm going to be doing a few more iterations before we actually go live. Potentially on this page, not only just have the, I guess, the different dashboards listed, but maybe some high level indicators for each program. But yeah, that's our journey right now.
Fantastic, Sondra. Thank you. Maybe we'll just open it up for questions. Does anybody have any questions for Sondra?
Maybe I should just unmute. But I asked in the chat there. Has it been hard getting your data from Cerner to Azure Synapse, and how are you guys moving that data? Are you using, like, do you have specific tools you're using, or how's that been going for you?
So great question. So my data architects are covering that part of it. I know that, you know, moving the syntax from Netezza to Azure, there was some difficulties there. To my understanding, they haven't had issues pulling data from Cerner into Azure. And then we're leveraging Tableau Bridge and creating flows to actually push it into Tableau. But unfortunately, I can't speak to any of the issues that they might have had with that. But I could circle back to you, Eric, if that's fine.
Oh yeah, no, I'm just kind of curious because we use Epic at Alberta Health Services, and we've had quite the legal battle with Epic on getting our own data out of our systems. So it's just interested to see what other people's struggles are like, because I think we've had, basically what happened for us was that Snowflake gave us a guarantee that if Snowflake sued us for surfacing our own data in Snowflake, that they would cover the legal costs related to that lawsuit. So Epic is fun. But yeah, no, it ended up working out fine. Epic's a bit snooty about saying their tables are proprietary, but I don't understand what's proprietary about a data table. But anyways, Epic is fun. But that said, we have gotten our data into Snowflake, which is what we're using for our data repository. So yeah, I was just curious if you guys have had similar struggles, or is Epic just a pain in the butt to deal with?
Yeah, my director Kim just messaged in the chat, and she just reiterated that we haven't had any issues, and I wasn't made aware of any of those issues either from my data architects. So I'm so sorry that you're going through that.
Oh Good. I'm just glad you're on Cerner instead, and it's a much less bumpy path.
We just have a couple questions in the chat. So from Justin asking if you're cloud hosted. I think you are.
Yeah. Yes, we are.
Okay. And then from Brendan, the first question is, what data quality, data governance considerations have you made through this process? And then the second question is, have you cataloged your key data sources and systems?
Yeah. So we have cataloged our data sources. We have a metadata catalog that we're currently working on. Essentially, it breaks down what dashboards we have, what sources are being fed into it, where you can find the data, because not all of it, well, part of our data lives in Azure. There's other sources that we're trying to push into Azure. In terms of data quality and data governance considerations, one of the biggest struggles that I had, and I feel like since I'm a one-person team, it's been, developing out a dashboard. It can take, 1 to 2 weeks to do. I've been looking at the data the whole time. Sometimes, I can't flag anymore if there's been issues with the data, since I look at it day in and day out. So I've been working with my analytics consultants, and they've been helping me, bridge that gap that I've been having. So once I publish a data source just internally on our team, they look at the data source, they look at the dashboard and they compare it with our data source. Like they'll just run like a basic query to make sure that like the data actually was actually being pulled in properly. There's been also like a lot of back-to-back with, going between Tableau and our NYGH insights right now. So we're running them in parallel, and it's been hard, I guess, trying to turn off NYGH insights since I haven't migrated everything over yet. So I've been trying to leverage my BI consultants to, help move some of their programs over into the tool. And I've been like collaborating with them on that.
Great, fantastic. And there was a follow-up question that Eric put in the chat here that I also had, which is, what tool are you using to build your metadata catalog?
So nothing fancy right now. It's just in Word. Eventually, maybe we'll leverage like a different tool, but we're just trying to get the structure down as of right now. So it's just in a Word document.
Awesome, thank you. Kimberly says, looking at Informatica. Great, thank you. Okay, any final questions for Sondra before we move on? Okay, thank you so much, Sondra. Very much appreciate it. And feel free also, if you do have any additional questions for Sondra during the rest of the session, you can just put it in the Q&A. Okay, thanks. Let's move on to Yilin, who will be presenting on behalf of OHA.
Sure. Thanks, Sondra, and thanks, Brittany and Eric, for hosting this great session. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm really glad to be here to share our work on the patient-based funding efficiency and performance dashboard with the group. My name is Yilin, and I work as a BI specialist at the Ontario Hospital Association, where I support the design and development of BI solutions for our 135 public hospital members and 600 non-hospital members in Ontario. Let me share my screen first. Okay. Okay. Let me know if you can see my screen here.
Yeah, we can see it. Looks great.
So today I'll be walking you through the background and design of our PBF efficiency and performance dashboard, a legacy tool that dates back to 2019. While it's no longer in use, it did play an important role in helping hospital finance teams analyze funding efficiency based on HBM data and still offers some valuable insights and design lessons worth sharing with the group. So before this dashboard was introduced, hospital finance teams faced several challenges in using HBM results for performance analysis and funding planning. First, data spread across multiple tabs from the HBM results. Finance teams had to toggle between multiple spreadsheets to find cost and weighted cases data across the 5 HBM modules. This made analysis time-consuming and likely to make mistakes. A little bit more information about the house-based allocation model, HBM. It was first introduced by the Ontario government in 2012 as a funding policy to help determine a portion of hospital funding. Secondly, since all hospitals had access to HBM results, many create their own internal dashboards. However, this often led to data mismatches and inconsistencies across the sector, as each team might interpret or process the data slightly differently. Last but not least, HBM results did not include peer comparisons or benchmarks, as funding is impacted not only by a hospital's own performance, but also the performance of all other hospitals in Ontario. Hospitals wanting to access their performance relative to others had to manually compare data with peers, which was inefficient and difficult to standardize. So to address all of these challenges, we developed and introduced the PBF Efficiency and Performance Dashboard. It's designed to condense complex HBM data into a simplified and centralized platform, and it enabled hospitals to evaluate funding efficiency and performance with ease. It's also a one-stop shop to support performance analysis through 5 HBM care type modules, 6 key metrics that I'm going to show you later, year-over-year changes, and past 5-year trend lines for historical context and forecasting. It also offers peer comparison through dot plots to visual benchmarking to compare performance against other Ontario hospitals, and highlights that funding is influenced not only by individual hospital performance, but also by how others perform. So why was the dashboard retired then? In 2019 to 2020, the redistribution of HBM was suspended, and during the same time, the growth and efficiency module, GEM, was introduced. GEM was used to allocate incremental growth funding rather than redistributing existing funds. With HBM no longer in use, the dashboard was then retired due to limited user engagement and lack of actionable insights. Although the dashboard was retired, its design elements and key features have significantly influenced many of the dashboards our members use today. Now that we understand the background of the dashboard, let's dive into it and explore the visualization. And before we begin, just to note that the dashboard we demo today uses fake data and made up hospital names for the demo purposes. So here is our PBF efficiency and performance dashboard. Imagine I'm a financial and funding analyst at the hospital. So when I first open this dashboard, I'll need to find my own hospital from the facility filter. I'll choose hospital number 35, for example, and the fiscal year that I want to analyze. From the fiscal year filter, I'll choose the latest one. And you'll also notice that my hospital name and the fiscal year appeared on the top besides the dashboard name, besides dashboard title, just to remind users. Then I'll go to the overview section which is a table on the left side, to check out the 6 key metrics on row levels for each of the 5 HBM modules. These 6 key metrics are expenses. That's the total expenses a hospital has spent on that care type during a certain fiscal year. And the total percentage of Ontario, that represents percentage of Ontario's total spending for that care type. Weighted cases or days, they're using HBM to account for differences in patient complexity and resource use across hospitals. And actual unit cost, that's the total expenses divided by the weighted cases. Next is the expected unit cost. So rather than using average cost, expected unit cost incorporate adjustments like teaching, distance, level care, or economics of scale that might contribute to higher unit cost. And last one is the actual versus expected unit cost. That's expected unit cost minus actual unit cost. This one is the most important metric, as this is how we measure the funding efficiency. Lower actual unit costs relative to expected means higher efficiency. To highlight this, the positive values are marked in green, and which means the actual unit cost is lower than expected, and negative values are marked in red, showing that actual unit cost is higher than expected. Let's take this hospital number 35, for example. We can see that it's generally more efficient in terms of emergency room and inpatient rehab, as their actual unit costs are much lower than expected. It also performed modestly well in complex continuing care, with actual unit costs slightly below the expected. However, for acute newborn and day surgery, it's an area of concern, with actual unit costs higher than expected. And let's say I'm a financial analyst, I would question why this is happening for the acute module and whether this has been a consistent pattern in previous years. So when I hover over the actual versus expected, I can see that it was not always like this in the past. Actually, in fact, it was positive in the past 2 years. So I'll question why this is happening for this current fiscal year. When I go back to check the expected unit cost and the actual unit cost, I can see that even though both increased from the past year, the actual unit cost increased way more by 5.18%, while the expected unit cost only increased by 1.43%. This explains that the higher actual unit cost and highlights that actual unit cost is the main area I need to focus on. And the increase in both the actual unit cost and number of weighted cases were also driving up the hospital's total expenses for the acute module. Next, I will wonder how my hospital performed compared to other hospitals. Let's see if I can find answers from the peer comparison section, which are the dot plots on the right side of the dashboard. First, I'll need to find my own hospital number 35. So clearly that will be the big purple dot. And you can see its name on the tooltip. And all the other aqua dots are my peer hospitals. Although we can see that for the acute module, it underperformed in terms of actual versus expected unit cost. The hospital's strong performance across all the other modules may resulted in an overall good outcome. This placed my hospital number 35 in the green area for the actual versus expected, which means it's about the 75th percentile. The dot plots for other metrics also supports this, showing that hospital number 35 ranks near or above the 75th percentile, but only for the total expenses and the actual unit costs. is placed in the red zone, indicating they fall below the 50th percentile. I can then adjust the filters above to help me dive deeper into the analysis. If I only want to focus on investigating the acute module, then I can choose it from the drop-down list from the module filter. And then the dot plots will only show the peer comparison for acute module. We can also see that for hospital 35, most of the metrics are either below the 50th percentile or near or below the 50th percentile, which indicates it also underperformed compared to its peers in terms of acute module. I can then use the other two filters to narrow down and control which peer hospitals I want to compare against. For example, if I only want to benchmark benchmark my hospital against large community hospitals for all modules, I can use the facility type filter to only narrow down to large communities and change it back to the all modules. And we can see that hospital number 35 actually performed reasonably well because most of its metrics fall either between the 50th percentile and 75th percentile, or even for that's actual unit cost and actual versus expected is above the 75th percentile, indicating it's actually had a strong funding efficiency among large community hospitals. So for the last one, the peer hospital filter, that helps me to narrow even closer to a smaller group of hospitals within the same category. I can, for example, uncheck all of them, only include my hospital number 35 and other, maybe some of the hospitals I want to compare. And then the dot plots will only show the selected group that I want to benchmark with. So that pretty much wraps up my presentation on our PBF efficiency and performance dashboard. So although I know the tool has since been retired, it played a key role in supporting the hospital funding analysis and the left behind valuable lessons that continue to inform our current work. So thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah, it's a very, very good dashboard. Any questions from anybody on the call for Yilin? What was the most challenging part of building this dashboard, Yilin? Do you recall?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I would say maybe most of you have had this problem before. It's like how to organize this table in a good-looking way, I would say.
Yes.
Yeah, because I mean, it's, for example, you can see we do have say the embedded worksheets. That's how we use in the tooltip, and we have the metric value and the arrows indicating the year-over-year change besides, but how we can have a manageable way to make more sense to our users. I would say that takes much more time to have this good looking table layout. And also I know the users, especially for the hospital users, financial analysts or internal users, they really prefer or like the table format, like Excel and things, so they can download.
Great. Yeah, no, it looks fantastic. Okay. So if there are no other questions for Yilin. Oh, Eric just has a question about how would you share this dashboard with other organizations?
So before it was retired, it was published on our OHA website under the data and analytics section. Let me see if I can drag so that our members can have access to. is open to all our members. We have the more than 130 public hospital members and 600 non-hospital members. So they all have access to our website, so where they can access this dashboard.
Okay, fantastic. So I think with that, we'll flip it over to you, Eric, the next presenter.
Let me just get my screen sharing going as well. Okay, can everybody see that all right?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, and I called it visited to death because it seems that Tableau has outlasted Alberta Health Services as an organization, which woohoo go us, I suppose. If you haven't heard, Alberta Health Services getting split up into 4 different pillars. We can talk a little more about that in a bit here, but yeah, but I guess I'm just going to talk about what it looks like now for us and how we've kind of set up our Tableau at our organization, how we do governance, how different teams interact with us. I'm from the analytic applications team, so that's my old title. I used to be the Tableau team lead, but now we've picked up some other tools like RedCap and Alteryx, and also our Python and Anaconda deployments. So yeah, so it's just kind of talk about how we've kind of set things up now, and then also how we plan and hope to get things set up over the next few years as A, we get reorged, and B, we move from we are currently on-prem, and then we're hoping to move to the cloud in sort of the next few years here. Yeah, just an overview of, yeah, like I said, where we came and where we hope to be, and what that refocusing will mean to us. I've been at AHS for 9 years now. And yeah, I try and get out to the mountains as much as possible. Lots of great skiing and all that kind of good stuff out here. So I'm based in Calgary as well. So our kind of philosophy has always been the hub and spoke model of things. So we have a centralized analytics department. So I'm part of the data and analytics group. We're not a part of IT, though we get a lot of help from IT for various things. We provide the server, so we do all of our own upgrades. We do all the, we even look through security vulnerabilities, a lot of different patching, all that kind of fun stuff. But we also do a lot of the training and onboarding. I used to go to Edmonton and teach courses every twice a year, I think I used to do, but it's been a while. We've mostly swapped to online. It's just easier, and a lot of people don't actually live in Calgary and Edmonton. People would be remote, all that sort of thing. So we're part of that analytics hub, and we basically pull in data. Not my team in particular, but we have a lot of ETL folks and data managers, data architects that move data from all over the place. Like I mentioned earlier, we use Epic. We've called it Connect Care, but it's just Epic. And yeah, we pull data from all sorts of places because we have that data source that comes into SQL Server and then eventually gets move over to Snowflake. And we also have a lot of other data sources as well. So everything from we still have our Oracle data warehouse that we're in the process of decommissioning, still up and running. So we have a lot of Oracle, a lot of SQL Server, a lot of Snowflake, plenty of flat files, Excel, Access, CSV, all that kind of stuff. But that said, we are pretty decentralized. We kind of trust our analysts to know their data sets and know what they're doing. We do provide lots of training for Tableau, Snowflake, all that kind of stuff, but we're expecting them to know, they're the experts in, let's say, HR or cancer care or public health or whichever area they come from, and then we're just experts in the tool. Yeah, and we're trying to push more and more, in database, in system analytics as well. And this is our, it's kind of a rough idea of all the different, some of these systems are kind of legacy now, or they've gotten absorbed, but the kind of an idea of all the different places that we're pulling data from. And even though we've been a centralized organization for over 10 years now, we've still had a lot of different tools, different databases. It was only recently that we finished rolling out Epic, one single electronic medical record system. For the longest time, we've been running several. So we've had Allscripts and all these, like we've had Epic in certain hospitals and all these different systems. So yeah, it's a lot of work pulling all this data together into kind of a centralized data warehouse. And yeah, we basically deal with data from all different areas within the organization. So a lot of IT people use Tableau, HR people in all the various areas within HR, recruiting and that sort of thing. But then we also have, like I mentioned, cancer care, public health, seniors health, addictions and mental health in some areas. And yeah, we're basically all over the board in the organization. Yeah, and then we have a lot of different stakeholders. So I know I know the CEO and all the execs use Tableau, but then all the way down to managers and frontline staff also are using Tableau. So we kind of have there's still a lot more we can get. Obviously not everybody's using it, but there's a lot more. We're kind of everywhere, and that's kind of all the way from the top to the bottom use Tableau in some way or another. Yeah, and this is what I mean by I just realized that was there. But yeah, this is what I mean by we have groups all over the place. Yeah, we have pharmacy data as well, lab, all this kind of stuff. All this data comes in, and they're the spokes that are kind of the experts in their own area, because I don't know anything about lab any more than probably the average than the average person. I've been for lab tests, and that's about my understanding and experience with lab stuff, right? And talking about our tool stack, we have Snowflake and Oracle, though we are hoping to get rid of Oracle in the next few years here. Forgot to put down SQL Server as well, but we have Informatica, Fivetran, Alteryx, Tableau Prep for doing the ETL. I'm actually surprised how much, we have a lot of these, high-end expensive tools, but we still see a lot of data being moved by Tableau Prep as well, which I think is pretty neat. It's a pretty easy tool to use. So, and then we have Tableau doing our visualizations. But yeah, and then I always try to push as much as I can towards automation, right? Obviously not every report we have is automated, but I always try and push people, can you, always, oh, I got this Excel file export. And I say, well, can you get it from the source? Where is this coming from? Can you get it from the person who actually has the data? Can you get it from, the Oracle or SQL or Snowflake or whichever? Because while we have a lot of people doing really cool and automated reports, we always have people that are doing it the old-fashioned way.
Eric, sorry, we can't hear you for some reason, just the last couple minutes here. Oh, got something there.
Oh,
Might need to rewind a
sorry
couple
about
slides.
that. Okay. Let's see. When did I cut out? Looks like only a minute ago. Sorry, my headset went to sleep because it's wireless. But yeah, I didn't really talk too much about the last two slides. I was just talking about how, I have the data ecosystems, the analytics, visualization, that sort of thing. That's where we have we have some survey software underneath my team, which is RedCap, and then also the Tableau and Alteryx. And then, yeah, we have our ETL people, and then we have some folks doing all the, making sure people are making good visualizations and that some of the senior leadership get good visualizations and that sort of thing. So they're making sure that things are done well. Yeah, I didn't really talk too much about this. Sorry about that. I always forget that my headset, I need to turn on white noise if I monologue for too long. But yeah, we have a pretty, we've kind of grown pretty organically. We started pretty low governance, which was great for getting people on using Tableau. We weren't too focused on governance. We were saying, hey, get people on here, get your dashboards up and running. Obviously, we still make sure things are published to the right people. We're not saying just permission things to whoever you want. But we definitely kind of have, we have one site and we have a bunch of projects, and we don't really split people up by saying, here's your finance site and here's your, this and that site. But that might be something we look into now that we're getting reorged. So yeah, so something that's happening, and I'm not the expert of the reorg. I'm sure there's lots of people will have a lot more insights into the reorg and how it's working. But yeah, but basically we're splitting Alberta Health Services into 4 separate, I'm going to say pillars, but that might not be the right terminology. There's going to be Primary Care Alberta, which is, family doctors and all that kind of stuff. Acute Care Alberta, which is going to be the hospitals. So it's kind of what you think of when you think of Alberta Health Services. You think of all the big hospitals and all that sort of stuff. But we're going to be splitting off things like the assisted living, because Alberta Health Services right now runs a lot of long-term care facilities, and we're also splitting off Recovery Alberta, which is the mental health arm of things. So primary care has never really been our focus. Family doctors wouldn't generally be part of Alberta Health. They'd be part of like a primary care network. So what's really happening is we're splitting off assisted living and then Recovery Alberta. But that said, the funny thing in all this is that we're doing all this reorg, but they've told us that essentially there's going to be a centralized service, which includes things like IT, HR, and analytics. So we're still not moving too far away from the hub and spoke model that we used before. So I joked internally that it's much ado about nothing, because at the end of the day, we're still going to be a centralized service, still providing services to people in different departments, which now may be different organizations. But yeah, we're still providing those services all over the place. And kind of while this reorg is happening, I think a big thing for us is, consolidating and improving the existing products that we have, because I think we have a fairly good product stack and tool stack. Like we use Atlan and we have a lot of stuff. I think it's just making sure we use them well, because I mentioned in the chat that we have Atlan, but there could be more done about getting metadata in there. So sometimes you'll search up a table and you'll say, great, this table is connected to the Tableau workbook that I'm using, and all of that is read in automatically through the various data pools that we've set up between Atlan and Tableau, which is fantastic, but nobody's filled out any information. So there's obviously cases where they do have really robust information in there. You can see what this field means, what it's for, what are all these crazy abbreviations that we seem to love. But I think for us, it's really consolidating and making sure that we're using these tools well. And I know we're using things like Tableau to make sure we monitor some of these tools and say, how well are we using Snowflake, for example, right? Are we wasting money on Snowflake credits, or are we actually using, or do people have runaway queries and that sort of thing? So, and we are an on-prem server. We have like a 4-node cluster. We're still using core licensing, which is legacy, but we're hoping to move to Tableau Cloud soon. We're just starting the process of getting our privacy assessments kicked off. Probably going to kick those off this summer here. Oh, and this is an old slide, but we had a lot of, similar to what Sondra's had. We've had some kind of a dashboard of dashboards for some COVID. This was for some COVID stuff, but we have, similar idea in getting stuff out there. That said, I also have, if my dashboard will load up here. This is a dashboard we've had for a while and that I've recently updated, but this is just some summary stats about Tableau and the AHS deployment, and some about AHS as well. And if it will load, then I'll have something to talk about. Yeah, so this is something we've presented this in the past, so some people might be familiar with it. We're probably going to try and get this up on Tableau Public in some way, shape, or form. I will probably have to aggregate the data because a lot of this is actually connected to our Postgres backend. But yeah, our first Tableau desktop license was in 2010, so it's been 15 years. I haven't been here for all of them. But yeah, and then basically the two timelines basically go through the kind of major milestones we've had getting a server in 2012, getting 100 desktop licenses in 2013, getting a couple hundred visitors a day, all that sort of thing, till now where because we had our data because we had Oracle and Snowflake and Tableau, we were able to build dashboards and automate them really quickly during the pandemic. And then recently we moved on to a 4-node cluster, so we have 4 separate machines running our Tableau server, 4,000 different people coming in every day, and we have about, this is from 2023, but we have about 22,000 end users of Tableau across AHS, and which is about, depending on how you take the number, because we have a lot of wholly owned subsidiaries in Alberta Health Services, like the lab portion of things is a wholly owned subsidiary, and a lot of these numbers don't include Covenant Health, which is an entire separate topic on its own. But of our end users, we have about 20,000 of them, which is about 1/5 of the organization, which is pretty good. And then we have nowadays we have about 485 creator licenses. I think the number fluctuates around 470 sometimes, and people come and go. And yeah, like I said, I'm surprised at how much prep we're using, even from people that have much more expensive fancy ETL tools. We have about 700 flows scheduled in Tableau prep right now. Oh, of course I will fix that later. But yeah, and there's just some general stats about, this is kind of our creator growth, publisher growth over time. We send almost 5,000 emails per day, and I think this is the one that I was working on yesterday, and I think I must have flubbed it. But I think we do about 2,700 data refreshes every day on the Tableau server. So yeah, and then we have 5,000 workbooks and lots of dashboards. So yeah, this is essentially where we are today. Like I said, it doesn't sound like a lot is going to change over the next few years, at least from our analytics perspective, because we're still going to be using Tableau. We're still going to be providing Tableau to a lot of people in all over the province. I think the thing that might change is that when we get to things like moving to the cloud, I'm hoping that I know Sondra was talking about mobile and stuff like that. We have almost no mobile usage at all, because the way we've set our on-prem server up, it's very hard to get. You basically have to use 2-factor authentication. So I'm on my phone. Let's say I have either a Tableau mobile app or accessing it through a website. Both work, but you sign in. So I type in my super long AHS password and my username, hit login, and then it'll ask me for my RSA key tag. So I have to open up my other app, get the key tab, swap back to the Tableau app or the browser that I was using, enter the RSA key tag, sign in, and then even then, because of the way our firewall is set up, it doesn't actually maintain the link that you clicked on, and sometimes it'll just send you back to our welcome page. So it really isn't the greatest setup, but we're hoping that things like moving to the cloud will help a lot in that. But yeah, I think that's about.
Oh, Eric, we can't hear you again. Sorry, I think.
Oh, I think my headset.
Sorry, Eric.
Yeah, I tried to play white noise every once in a while, or I just like went to a random YouTube video and play, but it didn't. Apparently, it didn't work so good. But yeah, back to the Ian's question. Yeah, I think we have 48 cores and 750-ish or 800 gigs of RAM, and I think storage-wise we have maybe a combined 12, like roughly 12 terabytes of storage between our maybe 10. Let's say 10. About 10 terabytes of storage between our 4 nodes. So we are definitely not best practice. We basically do we have a dedicated VizQL server. So this one just does the pretty pictures. This one just does data extracts. This one does a mix, which is not best practice. But getting more nodes costs money, and nobody in the government ever wants to spend money. So, and then this is just our Tableau prep conductor node. So, yeah. So that's kind of our setup. So they're very, they're some of our more powerful, I think some of our most powerful single blades in our server racks, because not many applications need this much dedicated resources. So yeah, anyways, Brendan's also asking, does Leadership Alberta Health Services, did they assign data stewards to any of the data domain spokes? I think the trouble is, I think it depends heavily on the departments of those spokes. There's not really like certain groups, like Alicia was commenting that she couldn't hear me, but their group, Cancer Care, has a very robust, they're very good at what they do, right? So there's teams out there that, and then I think it was the Covenant Health, which is like a Catholic hospital service. And don't ask me more about that because I barely understand how it works. But Covenant Health also has a very robust analytics group. So they're also very good at having data managers and analysts that know what they're doing, and project leaders that can help take care of all these different things. But not every group is made equally, and it's not something that is, there's not like a dedicated data steward for each area, unfortunately. So it's how good are the people in your area. And then number 2, were there any, and I see Alicia comment on that as well. We have our own Cancer Center Alberta portfolio, under which we have our own cancer research and analytics department with many departments, even departments under those departments. So Cancer Care, like I said, has a very robust analytics portfolio, and so does groups like Covenant Health. But not every, there are a lot of different data managers in the various groups, but they're not all groups are made equal, unfortunately, because they don't all have the same level of resourcing and that sort of thing, and they're not all centralized the same way either. Like, for example, it's not necessarily a spoke, but IT, for example, isn't really one centralized. There's a lot of functions in IT, but they're all very disparate, right? So you might have someone that does identity and access, and you might have someone that does SharePoint. You might have someone that does, all the million other things that IT does to keep all of our organizations up and running. So they don't really have like centralized. I mean, they obviously have a CIO and you know, that sort of thing, but it doesn't make as much sense to kind of centralize them under, you know, a project lead or, you know, one sort of person. So yeah, and the number 2 on Brendan's question, were there any initiatives and efforts to get more people to use Atlan actively or contribute to it? There have been some efforts. I think the hard thing is it's always seen as something on top of people's additional existing work, right? So one of the things that I see is that we use Atlan and it's great, and they send out email communications, they have a user group, and they have sessions where you can ask questions and that sort of thing. But we almost need like a scorecard or something, which could be a Tableau dashboard, that says, hey, your group is doing poorly, you need to add this kind of information, or that sort of thing. Because, you know, I get a lot of emails saying, hey, you should put your stuff, you know, you should update your, make sure your stuff's in Atlan, but it's not something that not everyone does it because they see another email in their inbox and they, you know, either say, I'll get to this one of these days, or they ignore it, right? And not to say that everyone does. I know there's, you know, a lot of AHS people in this call that probably do great stuff and their Atlans are very well filled out, but there's always tables that aren't. So we almost need like a scorecard, you know, similar to Yilin's scorecard to say, hey, your department is very bad at Atlan and needs to fill in this, you know, specific piece of information on this specific piece of metadata so that we can fill it out. But yeah, I don't think I've seen anything like that yet. I think that's all of the questions that I see, though. Unless Brittany, you see?
Nope. I think that's it. Yep. Any additional questions for Eric?
Oh, did we send out the next meeting's invite, by the way?
Yes, we can do that. So we are planning our next meeting. Just start my view there. We're planning our next meeting for, well, tentatively for September 18th. So let me just put in the chat the invite so that you can RSVP. And so I think that's it. Unless anyone has any additional questions, just want to thank Sondra, Yilin, and Eric for their fantastic presentations today. Thank you, everyone.